World Economic Forum. UN chief urges ignoring voters. Now, like I said, this pretty much an open secret. They tell you what they're gonna do. They basically don't care about what the populace want. They don't care about what the people want. They only care about pushing their agenda, even if the majority of the people don't want the agenda. He's talking about actually going against the people's will. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store where I have I Will Not Comply t-shirts. All right, let's talk about this news. The top leader of the United Nations urged politicians to make unpopular decisions that may benefit their people in the long run after making a special address at the World Economic Forum meeting in Davos, Switzerland on Wednesday. And he said he said unpopular decisions that benefit people in the long run. How do they know? How do they know that what they're pushing will actually benefit people? A lot of the stuff they've been pushing has not benefited people whatsoever, like open borders policy and the decriminalization stuff they've been pushing. Look what it's doing to our culture. Look what it's doing to the world. It's destroying things. So everything that they said he want to do is actually helping having an opposite effect. That's why people are not down for what they're pushing because their agendas always end up hurting people. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres criticized politicians around the world for caring more about, quote, polls, future elections, and political power struggles than, quote, effectively solving problems. That's the thing. They're not solving problems, they're causing our problems. But he called for them to ignore polls reflecting their people's will and instead do what they think is best for the long term future. See what they think is best, not what the people think is best. Quote, politicians need to understand that sometimes we are faced with these kind of challenges. It is better to take today decisions that will eventually not be popular, but that will be essentially to be able to shape the public opinion itself, Guterres said. Just nonsense. He made the remark about 20 minutes and 15 seconds into the presentation, which is viewable on the World Economic Forum website. Uh, it was preceded by a 15-minute quote special address where he said the battle against climate change quote is being lost and the people of the world must quote end our self-defeating war on nature. It's not a war on nature. See how they make it a war? Whenever they define a war on something, it always end up hurting people. The war on crime, the war on drugs, and all this other stuff. Now it's a war. They're calling it a war on nature, and they said it's being lost. It's being lost because people are waking up to your lies. People are understanding that the whole climate change agenda is a hoax and is used to push for your control, and people are waking up to that. That's why it's being lost. He was responding to a question from WEF President uh, Borge Brende, who asked why leaders don't follow the quote common sense. They call it common sense that dictates they must work now to stem off a future climate disaster. Guterres, a former prime minister of Portugal, went on to speak from his own experience. Quote, when I was following the polls, I would have problems in the short term, he said, when I was able to show leadership and take the decision that were necessary to ensure the future of my country at the time that in the end would pay. My appeal to a decision my appeal to decision makers in the public and private sector is don't look at what's going to happen to you tomorrow. Look into what's going to happen to all of us in the future. And people, are, like I said, this is a losing argument right now because people are waking up to the scam. They see that everything they're pushing is a lie because they're still buying beachfront property. They're still flying on their private jets. But then again, they're telling us what to do and telling us we need to curb our carbon footprint. More than 2,700 world leaders, including 11 members of Congress, are spending this week at the Davos meeting, where they're discussing ways to manage the global system. This year's event involves speeches and panel discussions on issues like recession fears, the Ukraine war, and climate change. You see how they're no longer talking about economics. It used to be, it's called the World Economic Forum, but they're talking about war. They're talking about climate change. You know, they shied away from the whole economics thing of it because it's not really about that. It's about them pushing their agenda and their total control and manipulation. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out DemarcRepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace. Oh, say, oh, say.